All right, everyone. So welcome to the Lazaro channel. And today I'm here with my friend Joe Cooper.
Yes, sir.
How you doing today?
Good, good, and glad to be with you today. And we could
So
bounce around some thoughts.
Mr. Joe Cooper had sent me a message saying that we should connect, we should talk. Because like you told me, you also used to go to an Adventist church, right?
Yes, yes. I was
Okay.
a since I was 10 years old, um, all the way up to just what 6 months ago. Um, but there was a 10-year period that I didn't go.
Okay.
That was my teenage going into my early 20s. And also I went into
Oh.
the military at the time.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so it was really roughly about 35 years of attending. Yeah,
That's about more than twice what I attended the church. I went for around 14, maybe 15 years,
yeah,
so and I think the one thing that I was mentioning was as far as the church aspect goes, I never really saw an issue within the churches, the community aspect of it. There were always, as most churches have, certain discussions and debates that there is in a church, but the
yeah.
community part was sort of what kept us going back. We got to see our friends, we got to attend with our families, uh, but now sort of using that to as in to lead about what we were talking about earlier. You mentioned that you saw the one of my recent videos talking about church attire. Uh, when you went to church, uh, did you also dress up like that, suit and tie? And
Suit and tie, yep, the whole 9 yards, and it's they. It gets to the point where they didn't expect anything less from you.
right,
You
right.
know, I can't say it was the most comfortable thing, but
Especially in the summertime.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I mean, to get dressed up like that and go and we at some point we were living maybe 2 minutes away from the church, and we were able to walk to our church. And
oh
so
wow,
sometimes you had to go in the suit and tie, and it got hot on the way to
yeah,
church, on the way back. Uh, but I try my best to make it clear that it's not biblical to dress in this manner. Actually,
right,
the Bible sort of tells you the opposite, to dress modestly. Uh, at,
that's
at
right.
some point, at some point, did you attempt to drop the suit and tie and go a little bit more modest to church, or never?
It's funny you said that.
Mhm.
I I dropped the tie and I was told I couldn't go up front. I couldn't participate up front without a tie.
Yeah. Okay. So
So I'm
same
like,
similar thing.
okay, this is going a little too far,
Hmm.
you know. But I just I don't know. I think the biggest issue was women wearing makeup was
Mm.
is what mostly got the thing going with attire,
Right. So they weren't allowed to wear makeup.
not supposed to. No.
Wow. And did that also prevent the woman from going up to the pulpit and be able to?
Absolutely. We had a well a young lady. She was just coming into the church and she was still wearing jewelry.
Hmm.
So some people are like, give her a chance. It'll come off. And that so, but we had some people to say, well, in the meantime, she can't be up front leading out.
Mm.
You know, so it's just I don't know. I just bit my tongue on things like I wasn't in a position to say either or. So
Well, we
that was
think we think we're not in a position, right? Because we're we start out as church goers, and we get shown the church leaders, the directors, the elders, and so we sort of form maybe this thinking that it's not my position to talk against this because what might they think? What will they say? Right? And
Right.
then eventually you sort of start to see for yourself that they're just people. They're at the end of the day, they're just sinners, just like I am. Even the pastor himself is a sinner, just
Absolutely.
how I am, And I think within the church community, sometimes church leaders are put up on a pedestal that's a little bit too high, or they shouldn't be put up in a pedestal at all
That's
because
right.
they're just people at the end of the day, right? Um,
Like you said, we're all sinners. And you know what? Actually, to recognize that you're a sinner, that's a good thing, you know. You
mhm.
know you need help, you
For
know.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the basis of why we accept Jesus at the end of the day.
that's right.
It's one of the reasons why I made, I think it was the fourth or fifth video that I made, uh, which I titled the benevolence paradox. The fact that sometimes we think, why do bad things happen to me? Why do bad things happen to good people? But we're all bad. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's bad things happening to bad people,
right.
and we sometimes we like to make ourselves the victim and say, why is this happening to me? I've been going to church, I've been reading my Bible, I've been doing this, I've been doing good. But according to the man himself, Jesus,
That's
only
right.
one person is good, which is God the Father, right?
That's right. And
And that
it's funny you say that about being good. You can list off of things that you think you're doing good, but
mm,
they may be good on the outside, but what is your intentions on the inside?
oh well,
You know,
oh
like
yeah.
why are you doing these things? You know,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Now that you mentioned that, yeah,
or your motives. You know,
there's always ulterior motives to some of our actions,
yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
and that's something that kind of stays in the back of our mind. We don't really like to say it out loud, but it's there, and we know that, and it's because we've been so corrupted by sin. Uh, I think one of the examples that has always stuck with me is uh, us being sinners trying to do good is kind of like us being lions trying to be vegetarians. Like it's not within our nature to eat vegetables. As lions, we're carnivores, right? And our
Yeah,
instinct is to hunt and to eat meat, but we're out here trying to pretend like we're vegetarians, and there's no, it's not compatible.
that's
So
right.
we're just out here trying our best. We're
That's a good analogy. Yeah,
because
yeah,
at the end of the day, you wake up and everyone is kind of just looking out for themselves, for their family. And if I have to do this in order to provide for my family, but at the same time I'm affecting someone else, well, that's their problem. I'm gonna do it for me and my family, right? And that enters into conflict in a church setting because in a church setting we're meant to help others, right? And we'll help as much as we're allowed to, as much as I can, but we all have limits at the end of the day, right?
right. That's right.
And one other thing that I mentioned in the video was the whole disfellowship process that exists within the church. Have you ever seen that for yourself? I mean, you were around there for
No,
35 years. Did you ever see that?
I haven't. Well, yes and no. I was at the time when this happened, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't part of. Uh, I wasn't in a leadership position, but there have been people who've been disfellowshipped, and yeah, I've actually seen a pastor just basically kick a person out, you know,
Wow.
without going to the board.
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay.
was
That's
asked to leave, so that was kind of I didn't like that whatsoever. But yeah, as far as like being disfellowship, I've
mhm.
yeah, there's people who've been disfellowship, yeah.
And
But
I think it's more politics about it. Like, well, what is the
It is.
church going
It
to
is.
think, right?
That's exactly right. It is politics because you get some people are going to vote. Like who are we to put someone out of church? And then you
Right.
get the other people. Oh no, get them out before they corrupt every other people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's that battle back and forth.
See, I laugh because a lot of the phrases that I hear from you, I would also hear in my Spanish churches. And it can't be
Yeah.
a coincidence. I mean, we lived in different states. My
Yeah.
churches were mostly Hispanic, yours were mostly American or in English, and
Right.
two different cultures, but then we hear like the same phrases here and there. So it's kind of what the message is, like if you do this, then you're not good enough to continue to be a church member because a church member is supposed to set out the example, uh, supposed to be different from other people in society. Uh,
That's right.
but who are we?
That exactly. And it just goes to show we were in the system.
Hmm.
It wasn't so much, free thinking, free will. We were
Hmm.
part of a system. We were fed, how to think and how to
Yeah.
perceive the Bible.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just thank the Lord that he showed me and other people a way out
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I think at the end of the day, and like you said before, um, we could be just good Bible Christians,
Hmm.
and just focus on the Bible alone, and get away from these denominations.
Right.
Denominations, they add so much to the Christian experience.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
And, and
everything that we read and that we are at the end of the day makes us Christians. It doesn't,
right,
it doesn't make us Catholic. It doesn't make us Baptist. It doesn't make us Adventist. Just following the Word of God makes us Christian by default.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, think about it. The disciples, no
Hmm.
denominations, they're just followers of Christ.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
That's a good example. And the very fact that when they were selected, they weren't in any church. They weren't part of the church leadership. They didn't hold positions in churches. They were found outside the church. Uh, and,
outside the church, right?
and that's one example that I always like to make. And I think at some point I'm going to make a video about it, is the fact that imagine if Jesus came back today for the imagine if Jesus came today for the first time and to select his disciples, his 12 disciples, we would immediately think about, oh, he's definitely going to choose pastors. He's definitely going to
Right.
choose conference administrators, conference presidents, or whatever the titles are now. He's definitely going to choose those people because they're well respected people, and that's what the church people thought back then in biblical
Yeah, right.
times. And instead, Jesus completely ignored that and went out and because he saw the heart, he didn't
Saw the
look at
heart.
fancy clothing, fancy garments. He didn't care about none of that. He saw every person's heart and he
That's
chose
right.
them
Very good
for
point.
that. And I think
And
that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of us.
yeah, absolutely. The I don't know. I think with Adventism, there's a lot of human logic
Mm-hmm.
involved in it. It's like what someone thinks makes sense to them.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
It's like you said, the tire, not biblical,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to make sense because you can't just you dress up when you go out to eat or something. You can do that, but you
Mm-hmm.
mean to tell me you can't come to church dressed up?
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard that plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard
Me
that
too.
plenty of times. So there's a lot of like I said, human logic in the Adventist beliefs.
Yeah, yeah, and that's part of what makes us humans. We're going to read things and interpret it in a way where it sort of works our way to continue promoting our own lifestyle and choices. Well, the Bible says this, so I'm good. I'm doing good. And it makes us feel better at the end of the day. It's one of those things that should really be discussed. How going to church impacts your self-esteem as a Christian. I think there's a strong correlation there. Um, but yeah, I mean the plan is to for me the plan is to continue making these types of videos where uh, they can start conversations. They could make a comment and then we'll go from there, right? Uh, One of the
Right.
things that you mentioned was obviously you share with me is you plan to start this podcast channel where you have these types of conversations. Would you be able to sort of start concluding this conversation? Would you be able to share what your plan is with your channel? What do you want to accomplish or things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think the direction I want to go is just basically life experiences.
Okay.
Not it doesn't have to necessarily be about uh it's definitely not about just about my life, but
Hmm.
I like to hear other people, their experiences. Um
Okay.
Regardless the subject. But I picked this subject, and what drew me to you, we were both Adventists, so
Ah,
that's it's
okay, okay,
familiar
yeah.
for me. So it's going to be about life experiences. So we don't have to be an expert in it, but it's our experience.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things that led me into making one of my videos with my wife, where I explained, we're going to be 5 years married. Uh, I think we qualify
Right.
to at least give
Ooh,
some suggestions. And I'm
right.
pretty sure that if you're 30 years married, you can learn something from us because we've lived out different lives. Uh,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
now that you're mentioning it, something that I also shared a lot when I was going to church was uh, when I was part of the church and I had this teaching position. I
Hmm.
didn't go with the intention of me just teaching. I wanted to provoke thoughts and commentaries that would also lead to the young people talking because I knew that I could learn from a 14-year-old. I could learn from an 18-year-old. Something
Right.
about their life is new and I could learn from them. So yeah, I pretty much agree with that sentiment. Uh, and your channel's name, the name of your podcast is going to be
The Reason Podcast.
the Reason Podcast. So I'll be sharing that in the links below. Both of us are just starting out, in my opinion.
And vice
And
versa. I definitely be sharing yours
I
for sure.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I think it's safe to say this is not going to be the first and last conversation we have.
No,
I
no, and like I said before, I would love to have another, sit down interview
yeah.
again,
Hmm.
and we could use that as a total video.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. That,
Yeah,
that that sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan. I think we're going to be doing that. Uh, Obviously, what we want is not just for us to share this video for people to see it and then that's it. Oh, nice video, like no, but for the people watching this to also engage and add a commentary or two. And if there's something that we said that you disagree with, let us know. Like
that's
we're
right.
not
Let's
we're not
go.
two people here that are saying we know the truth. This is the truth. No, like we're no experts. We've
Right,
had life experiences and we can
that's
share
right.
that experience. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a 20-year-old out there that's going to teach us something.
That's
There's
right.
there's going to be a 40-year-old out there that's going to teach us, and that's what it is. So I think we should be able to continue to promote
Right.
conversations, even those conversations that are a little bit uncomfortable to have within the church setting or within life. It's important,
That's right.
right? So
Right, and it'll be a safe place to have that conversation.
for sure,
So
for sure. So
yeah,
so
so definitely I look forward to doing more with you,
yeah,
and
for
really
sure.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Of course, of course. Well, I appreciate the time. We're gonna go ahead and end the video real quick. So if we could just say bye to the people.
Okay, take care, and once again, check out Joseph's his channel.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. I think we have good things to come in the future.
For sure. For sure. Thank you
All
very
right.
much for your time.
Yeah.